Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Real View podcast. I'm your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me is my co-host, Carrie Arblaster, and with us today is our special guest, Jeremy Pape, who we will let him introduce himself, a broker in the Columbus, Ohio area, and is also super involved with real estate throughout the state of Ohio. So we'll go into more of his background in a minute, but thank you guys for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Well, Jeremy, as Allison prepped you for, the name of the podcast is The Real View. And what we like to ask all of our guests is, what is the best view that they have ever had? So what say you? What's the best thing you've ever seen?
That's funny. You know, that's a hard question because a couple things. I do a lot of skiing, a lot of snowboarding and skiing. And so mountains, I'm on a lot of mountaintops. And it's, I would say, Big Sky, Montana. From the top of Big Sky, Montana is probably one of the prettiest things that I've ever seen. But also, you know, I've been a pilot for many years, so I've flown over, you name it. Some of those sites are incredible. So to just pick one, I don't know. I've been over Iraq and you name the location. So I've seen it from high above and the mountains. So I don't know if that answers your question, but seen a lot of really neat things.
No, that's wonderful. Big Sky's great. That's kind of on my bucket list too. It's gorgeous out there. It's beautiful.
It's absolutely,
not seen that,
yeah, that's a real mountain right there.
It's funny when we were researching, a little bit about you before the podcast, Carrie's like, oh my gosh, I think he's a pilot. And I was like, okay, he's going to have a really cool answer to our Real View question, because there's probably nobody who's seen as many views as you have, especially from such a high altitude. Yeah. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I'd say the scariest view is we flew combat missions over Iraq and Middle East. And a lot of those missions, we had to do lights out with night vision goggles to land. And, you have combat ways of flying in to land. And it's a neat view, but it's definitely a scary one.
I can only imagine. Well, thank you for your service. I mean,
absolutely. Enjoyed every minute of it.
We wanted to start there. You obviously have a military background. You're a pilot. Not many people can say that. You're an officer in the Air Force. So, somehow you made your way to real estate. Somehow you made your way to the military after going to Ohio University, right?
Yeah, I was in Ohio University, and honestly, my grades were kind of slipping. I wasn't prepared for my first year at OU. I was elementary education was my degree there, but I was enjoying life a little bit too much my freshman year. So when my grades started slipping, I kind of had my parents, they were paying for a big portion of my college, and they're like, we're not doing it anymore. So that's when I started looking into the military and some of their tuition reimbursement. And at the time, I think they paid a big chunk, like maybe 60% of my tuition. And, I jumped into it, not really knowing what. I didn't go into the military thinking that's exactly what I wanted. It was a tool to help with education, and kind of fell in love with it. So I started that in 1995. I was enlisted as a fuel systems mechanic on F-16s.
And then how did you make your way to officer and pilot? And I mean, how does that work?
Well, so I was 5 years doing the fuel systems maintenance stuff. And when I got my degree, I thought, you know what, I really love this now with a degree, because you have to have a college degree to become an officer. I wanted to do that. And my dad was a pilot for 34 years. He was an F-16 pilot. And I always thought it was kind of neat, kind of cool, but I didn't ever have a drive for it. But when I graduated, I thought that was the career field that I thought would be fun and challenging. And I jumped into it and I loved it. It was right after college. I think I had to wait maybe 6 months for a pilot, because you have to go through quite a bit of stuff to actually make it into undergraduate pilot training. And so I went through officer training school and went through all that, and POW training and survival and all those fun things just so you could do it. And the training is about 2 years from start to finish. And after that, then you head to your base and you fly the plane that you're trained on. So
you did that through 2009, but if I read your bio correctly, there was a time in life when you were doing both real estate and the military,
yes.
Right?
Yes, I got licensed in 2003, and we were still flying back and forth Al Udeid, Qatar, and Kuwait. I did a few trips over there, and I had my license, and I was going back and forth overseas, and I slowly became, I don't know if it was slow, but within a couple of years, I became busier with real estate. I had more clients, so I had to figure out which route I wanted to go. It was very hard to be successful at both, to have two full-time jobs, which way. And the real estate, I loved it. It was stressful, painful. You get irritated with it, but it's rewarding. And, because I was leaving, I've got 3 kids. And, when you have to leave all that time, you got to kind of figure out what's a good balance. And so as much as I loved flying, and I loved the military, it was time for me to kind of move the route of real estate.
Yeah. And so 11 years later, here you are, a broker, an owner of your own company, the recipient of the Broker of the Year award at Columbus REALTORs, which we jokingly before the show referred to as the COVID Broker of the Year
the Corona Broker of the Year.
So how did you build your business over that decade, and what led you to want to own your own company?
So when I started in 2003, I think it was around 2004 or 2005, just within about 2 years, I started to have a team. And, as the team grew, I liked the training part of it. I liked teaching. I liked kind of growing some of these agents' careers. It wasn't all about focusing on me. And so over time, I realized that I wanted to do this for myself and for the agents that would follow. So, you just kind of see the trends of these agents and what they need. And having a successful team, I had successful agents on it. And I couldn't keep, it's very hard to grow someone's career when you're just a team leader of theirs. So I wanted to have, as a brokerage, now these very, successful real estate agents could create their own teams. And so, quite a few different reasons why, but the aspect of teaching and training and watching people's careers and helping them grow their own careers, I don't know. It's just very rewarding to me. I mean, I love selling houses. I still do it. I'm still active with buying and selling homes, but for me, sitting down, we're in the middle of some fun training right now. We have I wish I could show you on my desk. I had 16 hands of cards dealt because we're doing some fun thing. So yeah, in a nutshell, it's just the training and watching people finally get it and finally catch on and finally because real estate's tough, and to make a career out of it is very tough because you go in it, you're an independent contractor, and no one really gives you a book on how to do it.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say your style of leadership is? And I love hearing that, you want to have individuals on your team who you can grow and coach through and kind of see them become the best version of themselves, which is really awesome. But to do that, you have to be a great leader, which it sounds like you are. What talk a little bit about your style of leadership and how you approach that.
Well, so I like to be hands-on. And I like to be part of it. So I like to be a troop, be a leader on the ground with the troops. And, so we lead by example. I don't want to just tell people what to do. I want to do it and show them how it works and how you can be successful doing this. And when they see it over and over that, hey, Jeremy is doing this and it's working for him, they follow, So if it's an event or an open house or something, I want to be there. I want to be there with them and help them. I don't want to just say, do this, it works, I promise. I want to show them that. So I don't micromanage people. I know they're independent contractors. I try to delegate well. I've got very good support around. Aaron and Allison are tremendous support here, and they help keep this thing running, smoothly. And so I don't know. I can go on and on about that. So I don't know my exact style of leadership, but it's fun to lead, and I hate this type of leadership now. I consider myself the worst at Zoom meetings. I just hate it. I use my hands. I'm visual. I like to communicate. I'm a very in front of people leader, and doing it this way, man, it is tough.
It is. I think we're all in that stage of the pandemic where the Zoom fatigue is real. There's only so much over the camera communication we could have.
It's for real, and it's awkward. And it's hard to tell, if you're trying to train people and talk to people and get them inspired and motivated, you get literally no feedback. You're on this thing and you can't tell if they're paying attention. You can't tell if their screen is frozen. You just don't know. So we're adapting to it, but this is tough. It's tough to lead through these cameras.
It is. And hopefully we will be done with the Zoom and the camera Zoom calls here soon with the pandemic.
I hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we can be done with this soon. So you're super involved with the Columbus Realtors Association as well as with the MLS. So talk to us a little bit about your involvement with those organizations and, talk to us about what those organizations do and how they're an important part of the realtor world.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I started getting heavily involved in it, probably a little bit more than I understood. And some of these terms are coming to an end. So it's freeing up a little bit of time because they are very time consuming. But this has been such an industry that to me has given back so much. It's allowed me to have a career. It's allowed me to help other people have careers. So, it's a good way for me to give back to them because there's not a ton of people that do volunteer their time. I mean, we're complete volunteers. No one pays us to be on a committee or directors. So it's very enjoyable. You get to learn how things work. I went years without barely stepping foot at Columbus Realtors because you don't really have to. You can work from home these days, but it's nice to see how things work. So board of directors, I'm a director with Columbus Realtors. I'm on my third year, and that's a governing body, and it's we meet once a month, and it's a great group of people. I'm sad to have that, and because like I said, this is my last year with that. I'm also last year on the MLS board of directors. I was nicely chosen by our president, appointed by our president to chair that. So I will be the chairman of the MLS board of directors, and that's probably the most detailed of all the one because the MLS is truly the biggest value to Columbus Realtors and probably every organization out there. I mean, that's the MLS is where the houses sit. So that's a very important governing body. So that's where our biggest focus will be with the MLS board of directors and chairing that. Also sit on Broker Advisory Council. That's a group of brokers, and we come up with recommendations to pass along. And that's another great group of people. That one, I miss some of the meetings. Sometimes it doesn't fit with my schedule. I try to get to all of them, but that's been a really fun one. I can't remember when I started that, but it's been quite a few years. I sit on the grievance committee. I have one more meeting with the grievance committee, and that's probably my favorite one. You get to see complaints. You get to see.
Okay,
it's
sorry,
great.
I have to laugh.
No, you have to.
So interesting.
Okay, now you can explain.
Yeah.
Most people think it would be terrible, but it makes you a better real estate agent. It really does because you see these complaints and you're shaking your head. You're like, how did they not think that this was wrong? So we're not the judges. We just have to look at the stuff. And if it looks like it's a possible good complaint, we got to pass it on. So you look through it and, they prepare their complaint and it, usually comes with 10 pages of text messages and you read through these things and you're just like, wow.
So interesting.
It really is. It's been my favorite one because you get there and you're just, like, wow.
You just never know.
Do that,
I'm sure there's never a dull moment in the like reading through that. I'm sure you're like surprised every time something comes up.
It really is. And I like the fact that I don't want to tell people go report all the things, but we really need to hold ourselves at a higher standard. I mean, we are licensed real estate agents and brokers, and these are very big transactions that we're handling. So we need to do things correctly. And that's why I love that. I love doing things by the book. The public appreciates it. Like it's the way we should do it. Other agents, practitioners, they appreciate it. So yeah, I'll be sad to see that one go, but that's a 3-year commitment. And then after 3 years, then you go through some training to become part of the professional standards. So I believe starting at the end of January, I'll be on professional standards for 3 years. So we'll see how I don't know enough about that to discuss.
Very cool. We just had a realtor from the New Jersey area on our podcast a couple weeks ago to talk about she does the professional standards with NAR, and she was on to talk about the code of ethics changes. So that's very
exactly. Cool. And it really is because you learn that stuff. Like you could go through 10 years as a real estate agent without ever looking at your, the code of ethics, because nothing bad happens, right? And you just go through it and life is great. But it gets you to get in there and learn them, and you surprise, like you learn little bits. And every time I go to a meeting or a training or any of these directors things, I come out with information that's very important. And the first thing I do is I pass it on to the agents in my office, so they can understand what's going on. So that's my involvement. It's fairly heavy right now, and I love most of it. Most of it's great.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations.
I would consider you a young professional.
Okay.
Mostly because I think we're like the same age and I'm still very young.
Okay.
No, but my question is, I'm really curious about how you got involved in association work because, we at the association, of course, are always looking for new leaders, trying to cultivate young leaders, really want the work of the association to continue into the future, and so I'm curious about, how you got involved. And also kind of your thoughts on young professionals. I know I've seen you at a few, what we refer to as YP events. Yeah. So I know that you're active in that space as well.
We love sponsoring it too.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you could just maybe speak to the work of preaching, the goodness of the association to our young professionals.
Absolutely. So if you have issues with the way business is being done, you're not going to make a change unless you jump in, right? So I was a member of the MLS committee, and I'm not on it now, but 4 years ago, there was a decision with Zillow, and it was going to make an impact on independent brokerages. Here I was, we started our company 5 years ago. Here I am as an independent brokerage with barely any agents. And because of the way syndication and Zillow was working, we weren't going to be able to have our listings as a small brokerage fed to Zillow. And this was a decision that was made out of my hands, and it was going to impact my company tremendously. And so that's where I'm running. I'm running for the MLS committee, and I won and got on there. And from that point on, it just kind of snowballed. It wasn't like I had to be on one of these things, but you get in conversations, and some of the directors or some of the people that you're doing business with at Columbus Realtors, they're like, you know what, this might be a good fit. Check this out. And so I'd love to be on more of them, but you got to work-life harmony, right? You just got to figure out how much time you got in a day.
For sure. What would you say to someone like maybe a young professional that's listening, or someone who, maybe would be interested in getting more involved? What would you tell them, if someone's considering that?
Yeah, I mean, the Columbus Realtors always puts out information about the things that are available. Just jump on one, look through the list of the things, even YPN, just YPN, just jump on that. I know it's difficult now because it is going to be Zoom and it's not going to be the fun get-togethers yet. But yeah, jump into one of those. And if you don't like it, you didn't waste a ton of time. Try a different one. And honestly, it helps your career tremendously. I've always been a networker. And when you are an agent and you're, writing an offer for a property or listing a property, and the person on the other side is someone that is in your committee or whatever you've got a good relationship with, it goes a long way. It really goes a long way. A lot of people didn't understand why I love networking. I love doing all these Columbus Realtors things, and when you're dealing with another realtor that knows you and knows your work ethic, could win a deal. It really could, because they know what kind of deal it's going to be. They know what kind of transaction it's going to be. So I highly encourage people to not be hidden, not be a secret agent, get out there, do some things, network, and being involved with Columbus Realtors is great.
So true, and a great way to meet others and your peers and get to know them and grow your small community there, and also give back, like you mentioned, real estate, and what that means to you as far as giving back and the work that's done there. So what a great way to do that. Like Carrie mentioned, we are always looking for realtors in our community to get involved. So yes, take advantage of that. And thank you for your service on all of these different boards and committees and things like that. You've been a great guide for the real estate world. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Appreciate it.
So we mentioned that you won the Broker of the Year during the COVID year.
Yes.
How the heck did you do that? I mean, with everything that we experienced this year in this virtual world and everything that had happened, how did you do it? Share us your secrets.
Yeah, so I had someone in the office that, nominated me and, do it. And you get nervous too, because part of this, if you do get this, you have to get, there's a award ceremony in the middle of the year. You got 1,200 people. You got to you're the keynote speaker, of the event. You're the final piece, like everybody goes across stage, and then the Broker of the Year stands up there, and it's a little bit intimidating, but the push. So I did all the forms, filled it out. And March 12th or March 13th, I'm actually on just a quick little 2-day ski trip because I do have an addiction to skiing and snowboarding, but I'm on a 2-day trip and just checking in at the end of the day. And I'm listening to my voicemail and got a voicemail that had, hey, congratulations, broker of the year. And I was super excited. Get my next voicemail, and it's my wife, and she's like, Jeremy, you need to come home. The world's ending right now.
Right.
The schools have all shut down. Like it literally happened within minutes of them, like everybody was shut down. So, it was
So
exciting,
crazy.
but then the world flipped. And so it's cool. It's neat, to have that label of broker of the year. And it's an honor, and I'm proud of it. And I think some of the agents in the office are proud of the fact that, they work in a place that, has a broker of the year, so yeah, extremely proud. I don't think it got quite the publicity that, it normally does, but
no big party of celebration and during a COVID year.
Maybe they'll extend it. We'll have to talk to Columbus Realtors, but maybe they'll extend it for 2021. Give me an extra year.
Yeah, or at least do like a double party, with this year's winner, celebrate together.
Yeah,
that's you can
think.
still
Maybe
enjoy it a little bit. Yeah,
maybe in the summer, but it's the same as our elected officers. At Columbus Realtors, it's pretty exciting. When these officers become president-elect, or whatever, and the entire year they normally are out there mingling and talking and being in front of people. Zoom, it's all on Zoom, and so yeah, we've all been impacted tremendously.
So what has it been like working during a COVID year, aside from all the Zooms and things like that? What has it been like, navigating this pandemic? Have you changed your business practices? Talk to us about what that's been like. And also, what advice would you give to agents who are working during these crazy times?
Well, I think that we've always kind of been an out of the box brokerage. And that's where our culture has been great. The people that have been here, it's a very fun environment. And that's the biggest thing that we've always tried to do is make real estate fun, make it fun. Make it fun for me, for the agents, make it fun for our clients. So we've always been a big person with events and client appreciation and reaching out to the cities and the communities. You name it. If you look, look us up on Facebook or Instagram and look at all of our events. That's all we've ever done. So we've just had to try to find a way to adapt to what we've done to this, the new norm. So like, for an example, we launched 2021 with a 30-day challenge. It's just a way, because everybody is missing discipline right now. I'm missing it. We're all missing it. Discipline is my entire focus for this year, because, the alarm clock goes off. You're like, I don't need to get up, it's all, there's just no, I don't know if my kids have school today, if they had it yesterday. I don't know. I don't, yeah, right. I don't know if, I don't know their grades. I asked my daughter, I'm like, how are your grades? I'm like, do you have grades? She's like, Dad, I am not showing you. You will not see them. Yeah. I'm like, wait, I'm your dad. I want to see your grades. She's like, nope, you will not see it. And I don't really care. You're right. I don't care. As long as they're happy, I could care less about their grades, so anyway. So yeah, we've tried to do so many things to just always be available, always be connected. I've always, I've open door policy, but you really can't have the open door policy right now. So, I always have a Google Meets open. We're always doing things every single week to make people feel connected, whether they want to, and this is for the agents, whether they want to come in and just chat on this Google Meet, wonder if they want to learn, but we've got to stay connected right now because people are all feeling a little bit out there. So like back to the 30-day challenge is something we came up with, and it is a 30-day challenge to start your career. A little bit of discipline, rules every day. It's fun, simple things. It's basically all social media, giveaways and stuff like that. And at the end of every week, whoever did their stuff, I deal them cards, and we have a thing. And like today, I guess it's not on my desk, but today our winner got a roll of toilet paper. And when they when they pull the toilet paper and they unroll it, a bunch of dollar bills pop out of it.
There you go. That's the kind of toilet paper I want. Yes. How do I get one of those?
That's awesome.
Right. It's got $101 bills in there, and they're just little things like that. We just keep doing little things. I walked through. I brought my daughter, and all these things we're trying to do are trying to connect with the communities, connect with the agents, like trying to do all kinds of stuff, because that's what we need to do right now. And so I brought my daughter I can't remember when it was, but it was a fairy. And my youngest daughter's 5. And it was like a fairy trail or something like that. And I went to it. It was kind of neat. Very cool for a 5-year-old. They get all dressed up in their little outfits. And we walk through and I'm like, this is crazy. It's just a path. And it had little shoe boxes, basically, that were like little houses and stuff. And she just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So we have an office in Westerville with a really nice woods. And I called up Aaron and Allison and I said, hey, we need to do this in our backyard. Like, people can go outside and walk around. So within a day, I had a chainsaw in my hand and we were cutting down trees and we made this cool path and we made it a magical forest. So, we advertised and marketed and we said, hey, and so that's us trying to lead. We're trying to show agents that you can do things. You can have fun with it. So we do it. We try to get all of our agents to pass the message. Next thing you know, people are blogging about it and talking about it. They're bringing their kids and they're walking around and we've got fairy tale characters painted all there. And they print off a map on our website and they bring the map with them and they walk through and they find all their cool characters. And then at the end of it, they've got a magical wishing tree and they can write their wish on a bow and tie it up there.
That is
so little cool things, right? We're not
Yeah.
trying to get buyers and sellers. We're not trying to, but it just naturally happens when you do good things for people. So, and then that changed to Grinchville. We had that going. And next thing you know, we're like, let's make a spin on Grinchville. So we lit the forest up, hung 15,000 lights,
Wow.
green lights everywhere, Grinches everywhere, a little mailbox so the kids could come and write their letter to the Grinch. And, just fun little things like that. And we keep doing it. We keep trying to think outside the box and come up with things for us to do and have fun with and the agents too.
That's awesome. Pivoting and being nimble in these crazy
Yeah.
times, but still finding a way to be creative and have fun. I love it.
Yes, absolutely.
So not only has, the pandemic been happening and we've been dealing with that craziness, but also the Columbus market. Can we just talk about that for a second? Because the Columbus market has been one of the craziest
It's crazy.
markets in the
Yes.
country for the past few years now. What have you experienced? What has
it's
that
crazy.
been like? Yeah, tell us.
Yep. You keep thinking it's going to even out every single day, week, whatever. You think it's going to change, but it is the craziest seller's market that I've ever seen. There's literally very little inventory and all these people want houses and there's so many investors out there. Everybody, real estate's so solid that, all the investors are popping out of the woodwork and they want to jump in. So it's tough. We've 8,000 practitioners in Central Ohio, and there's just not enough inventory for all the agents and buyers out there. So yeah, it's crazy. It's tough on buyers agents. Both buyers and sellers have a whole different, look at real estate right now. A buyer, you got to consult them and tell them what to expect. You got to set expectations for buyers out there because it's tough. Some price ranges, you'll go to a house on the first day and there'll be 40 offers on it. You're one of 40.
That's so crazy.
And yeah, it's tough. And you don't want to let your people down. And then on the seller side, even though it seems easy and whatever, you put a property on the market, you have 40 people that you have to look through their offers and deal with, and you got to pick the right one. So all around, it's extremely challenging. It's really stressful. I listen to the calls from the agents all the time, but we're getting through it. I hope it swings. Ohio's, Columbus is just a great market. A lot of jobs here. It's such a good, it's a very convenient city. I travel all over the place and Columbus is home, and so I don't predict because who knows, no one could have predicted 2020.
No.
That's for sure.
I don't
if
think
they
in our
did.
wildest dreams we would have thought that what happened.
I know. So yeah, it's definitely a tough market to be in. I think it's very tough on new agents too, because when you're coming in this industry, and you're a brand new agent, you don't have, your sphere, you don't have your past client buildup, the people that would refer deals to you. It'd be a tough industry to jump into right now.
Yeah. I live in Hilliard and there was a Facebook post that someone put, I don't know if she's a realtor or an agent or what, but someone had posted in our Hilliard community group for the first time like ever, there was 0 homes for sale in Hilliard.
Isn't that crazy?
0.
I know.
I mean, that's just like, what?
I know.
It's so crazy. But yeah, I mean, Columbus is a great place to live in. Obviously, I live here. I love it as well. And it does have so much to offer. And maybe, that's part of the reason why we're seeing this craziness. So we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah. And people want to, there's a lot of people that want to sell their house, but they're like, then what? Where do I go? Where do I go next? Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Well, Jeremy, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time today and for being on with us and sharing your tips and experience in this crazy world that we live in. I enjoyed it. It was great to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys letting me on this show, and hopefully you guys have a great weekend too.
Yes, you too. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.